Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, and welcome. We made it to Friday. I'm most surprised I did. Welcome to the show. It's the 9th of October. I'm Lynn Cullen. I'm going to attempt to spend an hour with you talking off the top of my head and seeing what happens. I had said yesterday to somebody who asked if I was going to off the record that political satire musical show put on once a year for the last 15 years to benefit the food bank, which satirizes local politics and foibles and all kinds of stuff. It's a very funny show. And I said I didn't think I would because I wasn't feeling that well. Anyway, I went. In the end, yeah, it couldn't keep me away. I have a perfect record going, and I wanted to keep it going. So I went, and I'm very glad, as usual, that I did. And I don't know how I can cajole more of you into going to these shows. They are funny. And the people who are being pilloried are very often in the audience, not always. I was sitting across the aisle from Mayor Bill Peduto, who's always a character there's always a Bill Peduto on stage being satirizing. And Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive, was there. Braddock Mayor John Fetterman, who's now running for the Senate, was there. Ken Rice, the MC, always brings the house down. And the cleverness of the lyrics that they put together every year. And generally speaking, the people who are doing these are people whose very serious work you read on a daily basis in the Post-Gazette. So I'm just going to share two of the songs with you. So don't worry, I won't sing them. So you get a sense of how funny, how clever. And imagine this being done on stage, directed by the extraordinary CMU. Is he the head of the theater department there? I don't know. Greg Lahane? I mean, he's huge. He puts it together every year. So this is, it's not like it's not amateurish, and yet it's not totally professional. So it's somewhere wondrously in between, and almost always. I've never not laughed a ton at these things. So, just saying, next year, number 16, be there. I'll see you there. They did this very funny thing about the deer problems in Mount Lebanon. And they had a bunch of male actors, singers, dressed as deer. They were deer on the stage, and they were wonderful because they moved like deer. And these are just, regular people. wonderful. And the song that they sang was to Petula Clark's Call Me. So I won't sing. I'm going to try not to sing. I just want to get to the sense of how cute these lyrics are. Hello there, I beg your pardon. You can see I'm oh so docile. These are the deer singing. Sorry if I trash your garden. Must you be a total asshole? Call me. Don't get upset. You can call me. I'm like a pet. You just call me. Call me and we'll just be just fine. If I'm eating all your flowers, or I'm drinking from your rain spout, must you go abuse your powers? You don't have to blow my brains out. Call me. You can call me. I'm like a pet. Just call me, and we'll be just fine. Now, don't you freak out, but I must speak out. What's your problem with the deer? I took a big shit. Can't you accept it? Put away your hunting gear. So we jump out into traffic on a road that's slick and narrow. Must you get so goddamn graphic? Put away your bow and arrow. Call me. Don't get upset. You can call me. Okay, I'm ready. Cute, and it's done so well. So, of course, Kathleen Kane had to be one of the people that got... You could not do Kathleen Kane. So, the actress who was playing Kathleen Kane was simply wonderful. And she sang her song to a song from the Pirates of Penzance by Gilbert and Sullivan. This was an operetta. And it was Kathleen Kane on stage with an ensemble of 3 Republican guys in Harrisburg who, of course, are gunning for her. And here it is. I am the very model of a bad attorney general. My knowledge of the law is rather sadly embryonical. The press had asked me to resign in several editorials. The men here do not like me because I have different genitals. And then the ensemble, the Republicans go, the men here do not like her because she has different genitals. And they're dancing around. I am telling you, it is so funny. Back to Kathleen. My dealings with the media are very adversarial. I've leaked grand jury documents, a move that's quite unethical. The office that I pilot is amusingly dysfunctional. My understanding of the job is highly microscopical. Her understanding of the job is highly microscopical. My station, a revolving door of largely unemployable, assorted hangers-on with skills strategically deployable. For hacking files and taking notes on any staff disloyalty, they gather dirt and write it up and send the envelope to me. For hacking files and taking notes, send the envelope to she. And the thing is, the woman who's doing this has a marvelous voice. And so, and incredible diction. So even though it's a fast-moving patter song, you get every word. Last 2. I exposed some emails that were plainly pornographical, and one Supreme Court justice who was oddly scatological. But overall, I tend to be reliably deceptional. That's why I am the model of a bad attorney general. Now she's taken charge with her, and then off they go dancing again. And my chief of staff is prone to lapse by misbehaving sexually. My driver gets in accidents en route to speak to grand juries. So all in all, the life I lead is coarse and reprehensible. That's why I am the model of a bad attorney general. Well, is that not clever? Let me tell you who wrote that. Lyrics by Bill Toland, who, byline you see, and Dennis Roddy. Now this is interesting. Dennis Roddy used to be a crack reporter at the Post-Gazette. And then, much to the dismay of many, he left the Post-Gazette to become the press secretary to Tom Corbett. I think, yes, Tom Corbett. And went over to the dark side, as they say. But here he's come out and back, and he's a very clever fellow, as is Bill Toland. And so you get these delightful lyrics. On and on. They skewered the mayor for the bike lanes. They skewered the mayor for the Duck Dynasty, so that throughout throughout, there was a character up on stage that was the mayor, and he was followed around constantly by his alter ego who looked like the mayor in Undercover Boss, the guy from Duck Dynasty. And which was sort of reminiscent of Birdman, if you saw that movie. And so they called this off the record Bergman. So it's so damn clever and funny and goes to an extremely good cause over these 15 years. And everybody does this. They work their tails off voluntarily to do this one show, one shot. And over the years, they have raised $500,000 to support the food bank and also a scholarship fund for members of the two unions that put this on, namely SAG, AFTRA, and the Newspaper Guild of Pittsburgh. Great job, guys. I'm just proud as can be of you. And you know, I was there at the very beginning. Yes, I was. There I was, sitting bored out of my mind at a T-ball game. Or was it a Little League game? It might have been little pee-wee-ish Little League game. Sitting on a bleacher, sitting next to another bored parent. We were watching our children, sort of. And that parent was named Gary Rothstein. Still is named Gary Rothstein, as a matter of fact. Gary Rothstein is a reporter and columnist for the Post-Gazette, who is responsible for some of the more delightful things in that paper. Namely, he's in charge of page 2. You know, there's the front page, and then there's page 2. And page 2 is full of wonderful stuff, invariably. And that's all put together by Gary. And he is, if you know him, and he's a good friend of mine, he's, you know, you wouldn't know the guy is extraordinarily funny, clever. And so at that Little League game, he said to me, you know, what do you think of this? I've been thinking of, like, producing, you know, something like, you know, like they do, the National Press Club does in Washington. You know, they put on a show, they skewer the politicians that they all cover, and they raise money, they have fun, and it goes to a charity. And I looked at him like, what? I mean, first of all, I had no sense that he had any ability in this area at all. And I said, yeah, sure, sounds good. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking he's out of his mind. What, I never, who? And bang, the very next year, there it was, off the record, 1. And he shepherded it for the first 13 years, and then he finally said, I can't do it. It's like it takes all year to sort of work it up. I used to, our families used to vacation together in the summer, and Off the Record is always in October. So the summer is when it's got to get essentially pulled together and written. So every summer, for about 4 summers in a row, I'm always at the Outer Banks with his 3 kids, my kid, and he and his then wife, Mackenzie Carpenter, we're sitting there trying to write songs. I was horrible at it. I was abysmal. I couldn't for the life, which is why I'm just so blown away by people who have that ability. Wow, incredible. I never helped. I tried, but I always thought, let me have another glass of wine. Maybe something will come to me. Oh, God. So anyway, some of you are sticks in the mud, And others of you are there almost every year. I know. I see you. So it's just great. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say. So, I wake up and I have to admit the first thing I do is reach for my phone. Because I am a human being living in the year 2015. And the first thing you do is immediately connect to your devices. And so even when I'm not even focusing yet. And I go to Twitter. Twitter will tell me if anything has happened that I have to know about when I was asleep. Now, granted, I also have the newspapers, but the newspapers had to have stopped gathering news and putting it in the paper hours and hours before. But, Twitter, right on it. We have a call. Hello?
Hello, Ben.
Yeah.
Hey, you look great today. You look a lot better than yesterday.
Huh?
You looked, yesterday.
I did. You're right. But here's what happened, because I was going to get my hair cut, and then I got my hair cut, so my hair looks better. And because it's Friday, I have renewed life, and because I went to this thing and had fun.
I was looking for you last night. I didn't see you. I kept peering around. I told my wife, I don't think Lynn's here tonight. I've looked all around for you. I couldn't find you.
Well, I was keeping a really low profile, I have to admit. I was squirreled away in a back room.
Oh, okay. Because I was looking in the middle. I met you last year.
Yeah.
The Birdman, and I was hoping I would see you this year again. But
well, I didn't come in until the very last minute, and then I was over on the right side toward the front.
Oh, that show, Lynn. It's like.
Was
I
that
bring
cute?
People. I was going to try to bring my parents there this year, but they were out of town. Next year, I'm bringing my buddies. You did such a great job explaining how funny it is, but people got to see it. It's me and my wife go every year to see it. It's incredible.
It is incredible. I love it. I just love it, and I think. There were years when it got too bloated and it was too long or something. I think they got it down now. They really bang, bang, bang. It's just...
The deers, I just can't... The creativity that people come up with, I don't know how did people do it.
And what's funny is to see somebody like John Delano.
Yeah.
John Delano, political analyst.
I was at the Off the Record. He was sitting beside me as a guest, as an audience member, and I know he's so quiet and docile.
He's seemingly, and then,
I said that.
And then I see him on stage talking about Kathleen Kane's genitals. God.
Yeah. So
fun.
I just want to give a thumbs up, and like I said, if anybody in the audience you laugh from beginning to end.
You do.
It never stops, and it's. Like I say, it's brilliant. Whoever thinks, and I guess you're a supporter of it because they always mention your name out of the words of this thing is Lynn Cullen. So
yeah, right after they thank right after they thank Range Resources,
Range Resources,
and
UPMC,
Lynn Cullen.
I'm like, what the hell?
What company I keep? God,
it's a great show and
wonderful.
I'll be there next year again with my wife, and I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Okay, well, I'll try to be more sociable next year. I just wasn't feeling very well.
I know. I knew. I didn't know if you'd be there. I told my wife, I don't think he's coming. And I looked all around for it. I didn't see really many people. Well, I saw Ken Rice after the show was over. He is funny as crap, too.
Isn't he something?
Because you see him on TV, or you see these different people, and it's kind of funny because I've met some people off the job, and they're you hear them swear, you see the real person, and it's just sometimes I don't know, your mind's like, oh my God, it's weird because you see this persona of them on the television or on the radio, and they can't swear. Well, except for you, Lynn.
Yeah, right. I do it a lot just for all of them who can't.
You have to break the mold, but most people you don't hear them use bad language or whatever consider. But then you see them and they're on stage and they're funny. They're funny as crap.
Oh yeah, he is funny as can be. And I have to tell you, behind Ken is a guy named Stu Samuels who gets no credit. He was a producer at Channel 4 when I was a reporter there. And then he moved over to KDK about when Ken moved over to KDK. And he is the ghost writer.
Okay, because like I said, I don't know how these people...
Yeah, Ken is also smart and funny as heck.
But he
works with
exactly. I
Stu
can tell he's a brilliant guy up there. You could tell he's thinking on his feet. He's real adaptable, and I'm sure you have to drill, practice, and rehearse everything. I mean, anything in life that makes people look like, oh, that's they just go up there and do that. You have to.
Oh yeah.
You got to practice, drill, and rehearse anything in life to look like it's nothing, no big deal. I can just do this because.
Well, I think the year that Ken blew the place away, maybe about year 7 or 8, he all of a sudden started singing and dancing, and you know what? He can sing. And he can dance. Yeah. I mean, he can absolutely control a stage. And, I mean, here's where people who are on, and, he skewers, he goes after David Johnson, the anchor. David Johnson, who's the anchor at Channel 11, and Ken, who's at Channel 2, what was that one line he did, which was so funny?
I know.
Oh, my God. He just rips in and humiliates David Johnson year after year. And David Johnson, year after year, shows up and laughs and laughs and laughs. It's wonderful.
You have to be good friends. I get to.
They are.
You can tell he really likes David too. I mean,
right.
he makes fun of him, but he's
right.
when you can see when people really like somebody and they can joke with them.
Right.
That's how you know that you truly love somebody or respect them. If they can, you're joking up because he does get pretty.
He gets pretty. Yeah, I was thinking if I were David, I think I'd have a little trouble with some of this.
He's blasting pretty good.
I mean, it's pretty. Yeah, it's like really heavy roast kind of material.
It is. I'm kind of surprised, but
he just demolishes Johnson. Ridicules his anchoring. It's unbelievable. And
but also what Ken can do too. He'll make fun of the news, the whole news.
He'll make fun of
which I think is funny because it's true. I mean, they'll make fun of all the wacky things because and people they put on this mask. Everybody does if they're working. You got to put the work mask on.
Right, exactly.
But when you get off the work job, you have to laugh at your industry or laugh at your, especially the news industry. I think it's wacky.
Well, you'd laugh or you'll cry.
Exactly,
that's
the way life is. And then if you read the newspaper or anything else, you either. That's why I listen to your show because half the time I'm laughing just because if I don't laugh, I'll be crying.
That's right.
And going to the mental ward. So I have to.
I'm with you.
Just laugh and say this world it's bananas. Okay.
I'll tell you.
The world's bananas.
Totally. And I want to thank you and your wife for being such good supporters of this wonderful cause. And I'll see you next year. I'll be out and mingle more.
Yeah, maybe I'll introduce my parents to you next year then. If they're going to be there next year. I keep wanting them to come there and my friends and see. You got to see it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank
Talk
you.
To you.
Bye-bye. Bye. All right, so next year, around the end of September, when I start bothering you, do it. I mean, you can even write off. It's a charitable contribution, the ticket price. Not all of it, but most of it. And there's food. And there's drink if you want. All that stuff. Okay. Well, I guess we better get to the show, huh? I managed to whittle into it pretty well there. And you'll thank me for that because the fact is, as the last caller suggested, that so often you want to cry at what we talk about here. And I don't know that Oh, here's another happy thing. I guess CNN does this thing every year. They the top. Oh, this bothers me. Top 10 heroes for this year. The top 10 heroes of 2014. The top 10 heroes of 2015. And I always say the word hero gets bandied about too much to the point of not meaning anything anymore. But generally speaking, it is true. The people they find who they want to expose us to and their great works and to honor, they're pretty amazing people, and I'll I will call them heroic in what they do. But a guy who I interviewed, it seems like a million years ago. He was a very young doctor at Mercy Hospital, and it had to be like 1992, maybe 93. Couldn't have been any more than that, maybe even earlier than that. He was on my show because I'd read of something he was doing. His name was Dr. Jim Withers, and he apparently has been named one of the 10 CNN heroes this year. Because what I found so interesting and compelling, so I invited him on my radio show to talk about when he was just starting up and what he was doing then. I think he was an ER doc at Mercy, if I'm remembering correctly. And he would see, and this is before Mercy was in the claws of UPMC. This is when Mercy was truly Mercy. And he would see these homeless people sometimes brought in, and he would see the wretched refuse of our population. And rather than do what I would do, which is get depressed and wring my hands, he said to himself, what can I do? What do these people need? And initially all he did is he started going out at night when he wasn't working and looking under bridges and bringing with him blankets and a minimal kind of doctor. He went with his doctor bag, doctor stuff. And he began essentially ministering to the homeless. He started by himself. And he's been doing that ever since. And what I didn't know until I read this piece today about him getting this CNN honor is that he has taken that thing now, and it's a huge operation. And he has satellites. I mean, this idea of how you help the homeless. He founded something called the Street Medicine Institute, where doctors go out onto the streets to minister to people who otherwise would not get any care. And now Street Medicine Institute has programs in China, in Russia, in India, in Nepal, in South America, in Europe, and all over the United States. That Dr. Jim Withers. And I remember, he has the look of somebody who is, I guess, sort of Christ-like in that. He's very sort of ascetic looking. He's very thin. It looks like, he doesn't sit around stuffing his face. He just is somebody who's all lean and has a bigger heart and a will than most of us. And so he created something called Operation Safety Net. And there are now people, there's a waiting list of volunteers to get in to work on that, to be part of this great thing. That when I interviewed him, it was just in its infancy, its baby steps. And now, it's even more so. He now has subsidiaries so that they offer the homeless legal advice and they give them all the kinds of things they may require. He has a mobile medical unit now. He has caseworkers essentially who follow up these people. He has a severe weather emergency shelter in downtown. That's his work. And now his aim, besides making sure that the homeless have this sort of rudimentary medical attention, is that he is also trying to move them from under the bridges into a true shelter, not even a shelter, their own place. And in the last 15 years, he has moved about 1,200 people into apartments and other housing. I mean, straight to heaven, straight. Jim Withers. And the way CNN works, he's assured now of $10,000 being given to him to further his work. But if he wins, and the way they do this is one of these 10 wins the hero. This is America and always has to have a competition and always somebody has to be number one. And if he were to win, he would get $100,000. And the way he wins is you vote online. And I got all this in the paper. You can vote once a day between now and the time. And if all of us were to do that, that would be a good thing, right? So let me tell you how you can. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sure if you just go to the CNN website, it'll be there. You can do it through Facebook at cnnheroes.com. And there'll be an all-star tribute televised on December 6th. Gee whiz. You gotta, I bow. I bow to him. I did when I met him back then, because you know when you're in the presence of a saintly person, of a person so much better than you, and you're awestruck. And I was. I remember I couldn't stop talking about him after I'd met him. Couldn't stop. Because I knew this is one of the more special people in the world. So there you have it, Jim Withers. That's another good thing, I guess. And the Republican Party in disarray. That's a good thing. Or not. I don't know. They control one of our three branches of government. So for one of our three branches of government to be rendered totally dysfunctional because it is in the grip of a party whose members really don't believe in the job. They don't believe in government. They don't believe in legislation, regulation, all the kinds of things that a legislature is supposed to do. That's why they call it a legislature. You're supposed to pass laws, legislation. That's government. And if you'll recall the last national election when Obama was reelected, the Republicans got even more seats and they got more seats last time around in the midterm election, and the Democrats lost the Senate, and so they control the whole damn thing. And I remember a big deal with the Republicans was saying that we want to prove to the American people, wait, I'm going to get the exact quote. We want to prove to the American people that we are up to the job and that we can govern. We can govern. Well, as the New York Times put it today, right now it appears they're unable to govern themselves. So they cannot even govern within the Republican caucus. It's come apart. And no one in their right mind wants to put himself up there to be the Speaker of the House and to try to, as Boehner described it, herd cats. Can't be done. So now Paul Ryan, the former vice presidential candidate last time around, a congressman from Wisconsin, Everybody's saying he's the only hope. Oh, my God, the Wall Street Journal today. Help! Paul Ryan! And Paul Ryan keeps saying, I don't want it. Okay? I don't want it. Boehner's on him. McCarthy, who gave it up, is on him. The Wall Street Journal's on him. Everyone is on him, and I don't know, he might cave. He's a wonk. He's a policy guy. He's head of the Ways and Means Committee. That's a wonk's dream. He also is able, he's got young children. He flies back to Wisconsin every week end to be with his wife and kids. And that's what he wants. He says, I don't want this impossible, thankless, horrible job of administration, which is not what I do and not what I want. Here's the Wall Street Journal. Paul Ryan's colleagues are already imploring him to stand as the only potential speaker who could consolidate these GOP factions. By the way, how could he do it? Everybody, because the one group, the 30 to 40, loons, they're unmovable. So what was Paul Ryan have some kind of voodoo powers over them? Ryan doesn't want to be in a position where he's set up to fail. He probably has presidential ambitions. Why would he want to end up having to be John Boehner? You know what? If he did, whoever gets that, I understand now that, John Boehner didn't used to cry before he became the Speaker of the House. It's part of what happens to you in the course of your tenure there. You just break into tears at the drop of a hat. Anyway, the Wall Street Journal says this to Ryan, trying to get him to come around. Ryan says he prefers to remain at the Ways and Means Committee, but he won't return as the chair of the Ways and Means Committee if Republicans lose the House. The contagion that took out Kevin McCarthy will continue to spread, and don't be surprised if Mr. Ryan concludes he must make his own personal sacrifice to stop it. So the every power that is on that side of the aisle and then some is on Paul Ryan right now. I feel for him. I've never felt for him before, but I sort of do just as a human being. And maybe they'll break him. I hope not. It's lovely to see people bring this kind of thing on themselves. To see Donald Trump and the incredibly ridiculous Ben Carson. He might even be more ridiculous than Donald Trump. I know he's more respectable looking and appearing and soft-spoken and all of that. But I think he is deranged. Trump is just, a right out there, straight in your face narcissist. I think Carson is insane. And speaking of insane, I think Republicans generally are crazy. There's so many crazies in that party. And now even their own are saying it. So I love this quote. There's more than one quote from Republicans in the Congress right now that they're using the word crazy to describe what's going on in their own party. I can't tell you how many quotes I've seen with crazy, 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 coming from Republicans. Remember yesterday I said there's this guy, his name's Charlie Brown or something, who wants to be this, who's like the head of these idiots, and no, it's not Charlie Brown. His name is Daniel Webster. So same kind of, it's a name but not because of that Daniel Webster. Roger, did Ben Carson officially jump the... You can't jump the shark with this crowd. There's no shark jumping. Trump proved that. You can call John McCain. You can say he wasn't, that he somehow failed his country and he was a wimp for, I don't know what just beyond belief. You can denigrate McCain. You can call anybody coming to this country from south of the border a murderer and a rapist and all this stuff. You can offend anybody and everybody. And you can say Carly Fiorina is as ugly as a, mud fence. You can this and that. And it doesn't matter. So Ben Carson now, victim blaming, saying that, he wouldn't stand there and let himself be shot. And apparently he's one-upped on that now and gone after the Jews who perished in the Holocaust, who he said he's peddling such unbelievable crap, falsehoods, and the NRA types are always peddling this. The Second Amendment idiots. They always say, the first thing the Nazis did when they came to power is they took everybody's guns away, and look what happened. That's why we're hanging on to our guns, because you can't blah blah blah. That's not what the Nazis did when they came to power. The people who took German guns away were the people in before the Nazis. That's the Weimar Republic. When Hitler came to power, he actually started handing guns out to the right people, to members of the Nazi Party, and people were told they should have guns. People who could not have guns were undesirables. Jews, gypsies, socialists, commies, gays, the victims. They were not allowed to own a gun. They couldn't get their hands on one. So people who say that Hitler took people's guns away. No, he took the guns away from the people he then went methodically about exterminating. I don't know. I'm so sick of these. It's beyond belief that you can be considered a serious contender. It's clear that when he's questioned about things like the debt ceiling and stuff, he doesn't even understand that. He doesn't know quite what it is. He knows he's supposed to be against it, whatever it is. But he doesn't understand it. And you've got a Republican Party now elevating this. What he proves is you can be educated, highly educated. You can go through med school. You can become a neurosurgeon. You can be smart in that way and be a total numbskull in every other area. You know how to separate Siamese twins. Great. You don't know your nation's history. You don't know world history. You don't know current events. You don't understand how the government functions. You don't even... Okay. Roger says, well, I don't agree with John Kasich. He's the only Republican who still has a heart and his head not up his ass. I asked County Executive Fitzgerald yesterday, so I was talking to him about this, and I said, so who do you think, what's the best ticket for these idiots to run? And he said he thought the best ticket was Kasich Rubio. Because those two they're not insane. Those two are not insane. You don't like their policies, perhaps, but they're not nuts. And it's true. Kasich was a governor. He knows governance, and he also was a member of the legislature. So, yeah, he's qualified. And Rubio as well. And Rubio, of course, brings, with the Hispanic possibilities and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think Rich Fitzgerald had it down. Hello, caller.
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike from D.C.
Hi, Mike.
I used to date a surgeon.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he literally opened people up with a little knife and took out babies and and did everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he could not get from point A to point B without a navigational system.
Yeah. It's a certain kind of intelligence. That's all it is.
And their intelligence is totally different. He also wasn't very good at, figuring things out. I would say, figure it out. You're a surgeon. And he said, but you don't understand. I don't do anything at work until I've read about it, watched somebody else do it a million times, been coached by someone a million times, and then they let me do it once by myself.
But you know why? That's why people like him are going to be displaced by robots.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like robotic.
And
Robots
that's
can do
why Ben Carson would never make a good president, because you don't get to practice how to deal with ISIS. You got to jump in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so people, stupid people, think that, oh, you're a surgeon, you must be brilliant at that one thing.
Yes, right. And those of us who know very able people who have risen in medical world, the legal world, whatever, who have PhDs, we know that they can be stupid numbskulls when it comes to all kinds of other intelligence, like common sense or living your life or how things work or whatever. It's one kind of intelligence. And they can have the emotional intelligence of a 2-year-old. I give you Donald Trump.
Right. One time John got an allergic reaction to something, and instead of taking an expired Benadryl, he went without until I got to him with the Benadryl. And I said, why would you not take an expired Benadryl? Expired is better than nothing. And he's like, because they teach us in school, never take expired medication.
Wow.
So that's what you're doing. That's what Ben Carson is unless someone has walked him through and showed it to him, he's not going to be able to figure any of this out, which is probably good because they'll eat him alive.
Oh, no. He can you imagine him in a debate with Hillary Clinton? Oh, dear God.
Did you see the Daily Report, what he said about when he laughed at the people who were killed by guns? He said it was the victim's fault, that they should have rushed the gunman. Right. Right?
Yeah.
And where he gets that from is they do teach us at work that if there's a gunman, that we're all to throw things at him.
Yeah, or distract. Right? Yeah, distract, do whatever you can. They're changing their idea. It used to be hide, run. If you can run, that's a smart thing to do. If you find yourself with them, then you gotta. Yeah, now that these things happen with such regularity, we're being taught in a way what it is best to do. But yes, throw things.
But that's leaving out the emotional aspect of fear.
Being scared to death, right? You're
shocked. You're stunned, and it's only soldiers and warfighters who are trained out of that fear to act anyway.
To act almost in a reptilian manner. So that your reptilian brain is that now I do this. Exactly what you were talking about. Right.
They practice it. They put them in the field, they replicate that feeling, and then they make them act anyway. So the thing that these civilians would be able to stop a gunman just by rushing him is crazy.
Yeah. Hey, what do you make of that? The hero who rushed the would-be terrorist on the train in France.
Something smells funny there.
You think? He's now in the hospital having been stabbed 4 times in the chest in Sacramento, his hometown. Why do you think something... No, it sounded like it was a bar fight.
Yeah, but I read a news article in the gay paper that said he was coming out of a gay establishment.
And is that a legitimate?
And it wasn't just 2 people fighting; it was a gang of people stabbing him. So that story's not over. There's something more coming out of that. It wasn't like him fighting with another guy and the guy pulled out a knife and stabbed him. It apparently was a gang of people stabbing him.
Wow. Okay.
So there's something going to come out on that one.
All right, stay tuned.
I hate to say I told you so, by the way. but I told you so about the Pope. That all of everything he's doing now sounds exactly what a PR person would tell him, and that's hard to hold up.
I'm still not ready to abandon.
Well, he's still saying the right things, and that's
important.
For lack of still better than saying the wrong thing.
That's correct. Thank you. Leave me with
have
that.
A good weekend.
Yes, you too, Mike. Leave me with
Bye.
that much. Bye. Oh, man. So there's all this stuff about, there are states, the states that like killing people, like executing people. They're in such a tizzy, sort of like the Republican Party right now. It's like, we can't get our hands on the drugs that kill these people dead. We can't mix up the cocktail right. And so they got little pipelines where Oklahoma's lending Texas some, and Texas is telling Georgia, I got your back, but they don't. And I'm reading this, and it says that these states that still want to kill people it's harder and harder for them to carry out the executions as they struggle to obtain a limited supply of ever-changing combinations of suitable drugs. And I'm thinking, what insanity is this? If you were a state and you knew that you wanted to execute people for, somebody kills somebody, we're going to kill them. Okay, fine, if that's what you want to do. We know how to kill people. Shoot them in the head. I mean, why is it? So we now do, we have to do it humanely. This is insane. Firing squads, that works. Electricity, that works. Gas, we know that works. Just kill them. This idea that we're going to kill them, but we're going to kill them nicely, is such crap. Just, I'm surprised these people aren't saying, I have an idea. Here's what we're going to do in our state. If somebody's found guilty of killing somebody and we sentence them to death, we're going to kill them in the exact same manner they killed their victim. So, if they strangled somebody, they'll be strangled. If they shot somebody, they'll be shot. I mean, at least get creative, you bloodthirsty numbskulls. This cocktail crap. And doing it humanely. Come on. It's more humane to do it fast, right? Bang. They're dead. That's what you want to do. But that's so messy. And you can't really ask people to sit behind a curtain and watch you put a bullet through somebody's head. You can have people watch someone lie on a gurney and then just slowly die. Or be tortured to death on the gurney, I guess. Drives me crazy. Obit of the day. Frank Albanese. Or Albanese. I don't know how he pronounces it. 84. This is an actor. You'll know him. You know him? Uncle Pat. See, I was not a Sopranos person, so yeah, Uncle Pat's dead. Tony Soprano's uncle, Patrizio Blondetto. He only appeared in 4 episodes, and you know his name, Alex. That is important. Oh, because he's really an important. And one of the episodes he appeared in was the last episode, when he tries to warn Tony Soprano that his sister is up to no good, apparently. I could never keep any of it straight. So listen to this about Frank Albanese. Is that how it is? Do you know how you pronounce it? Okay. He was a heavyweight prize fighter who trained under Rocky Graziano. And he won all 14 of his bouts by knockout. he stopped his career in boxing because scar tissue started developing on his brain. Now, how he knew that, I don't know, unless he started getting really stupid. I don't know. And it was Rocky Graziano who helped him find work as a longshoreman. And then Graziano also got him his first film job, which was a film with Kirk Douglas. He didn't have a speaking part, but he showed up in a Kirk Douglas film in a mafia movie called The Brotherhood, and that was in 1968. But then he was off and running. Anytime they needed a gangster, a mafia guy that had that look, that every role he ever played. He was in Goodfellas. He was also, what else it says? He was a guy who lived on a farm. He retired to a farm where they'd been burying bodies. And he couldn't remember where the bodies were, which I guess must have been a pretty funny episode. I don't know, funny or not. So anyway, he's dead. I like that. Interesting life. Oh. All right. Do I have anything? I have one other incomprehensible thing. Headline: FDA approval of OxyContin use for children. What? Jeez. We already know, do we not, that OxyContin use in adults and teenagers has resulted in an epidemic of opioid addicts who, when they can't get the scripts anymore, buy heroin, because heroin is essentially the same thing. OxyContin's heroin. Let's just put it that way. And now they're saying you can give it to kids. The head of John Hopkins Public Health something school says this approval by the FDA allows OxyContin's producer, called Purdue Pharma, to market and promote this product for use in children. And the obvious concern is this approval will change the pattern of use. In other words, Big Pharma is seeing OxyContin sales declining because of this opiate, because people are much more aware of it. People are not, some doctors aren't prescribing it as much, blah, 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 blah. And the people who bring us OxyContin, in 2007, they pleaded guilty in federal court to criminal charges that they misled doctors, misled patients, misled regulators about OxyContin's potential to be abused. Anybody in jail? Of course not. This is just more white-collar crime. The fact that there are, every day in the obits, you see someone 21, 22, 23, 26, young people, and they're dead. And no cause is given, almost invariably. I'll tell you what it was. It was a heroin OD. Because it was somebody who got hooked on OxyContin because they had a surgery or they had an injury, and they were given the pills, and then they were given more, and then they were given more, and then when they weren't given more, they were already so hooked, they had to find the heroin. It's an epidemic. Huge. And the people who the purveyors of this poison are getting richer and richer and richer. And now the government, the FDA, just said to them, I know maybe your sales are a little down, so you know what? Why don't you use it on kids? I have to have some surgery. I can't go more than 6 months without having surgery. I have to have some surgery. In 2 weeks. And it's supposedly a rather easy one. No such thing. And I already told the doctor, I said, don't bother giving me. They always send you home with a big bottle of OxyContin. I said, don't give it to me. I will not take it. I could go peddle it on the street. I could make tons of money off it. God knows. But that's what they give you. And believe... Okay. I think that's it. And I thank you very much for putting up with me, and I'm glad I didn't cough too much in your ears. Okay? So have a good weekend. I don't know what to do now that there's no baseball. I mean there is baseball, but there's not my team. There's a cute little thing on the internet. Some father, he knew it might go viral, so it's a little girl. She looks like she's about 4 or 5, and she's just looking like the world's come to an end, and her father says, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" She starts crying, and then it's a little hard to understand, but she says, "The pirates! The pirates!" And she just loses it. Cute. All right, that's it for me. You guys have a good weekend. That's an order. I'll see you on Monday.